Okay, good afternoon, students. So we are here with a new chapter today from your book, First Flight. Good afternoon, Abhijit. First Flight, that will be General English. We will start a new chapter today. Good afternoon, Pranab. Yes, Sunday. I did not take the class. There was a question answer video yesterday. Okay. Good af- Good afternoon, Elena, Jaideep, Mirmili, Hunmili, Grace. Okay, so everyone is there. Are you listening my voice properly? Okay, so we will start our class now. Okay, so today we will start a new chapter, that is Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Okay, good afternoon, Sonal, Devraj, Abhijit, Jaideep, Aditya, Grace. Okay. Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. That is chapter 2 from your first flight. Okay. Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, written by Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. So this name, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela and Nelson Mandela are same. Okay. So as this is an autobiography of Nelson Mandela. Okay. This is an autobiography. Now, who is Nelson Mandela? Let's see who is actually Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela is actually a black, you can say, black skin person. Here we will see he is an African leader, a black leader. Okay, in India we have the discrimination between caste and all, isn't it? We have the discrimination between the lower caste and a higher caste. So that is the problem arise in our country, India. Similarly, in Africa, they also have a discrimination, and that is not of the caste, but they have the discrimination, the racial discrimination. Okay, that divides the two colored people, like white and black. Okay, so here Nelson Mandela, he was an African leader, a black leader, and who has actually spent 30 years in prison. Now, okay, so I hope everyone has the book with you. You can take out page number 16 from your book First Flight. Okay, so Nelson Mandela, he has spent 30 years in prison. Now, why we are actually talking about a person who has spent 30 years in prison, and why he is actually famous. So let us see what is the reason behind that. Okay, that is what actually Nelson Mandela, he is an president of South Africa. So how this long walk to freedom is a journey of Nelson Mandela when he became the president of South Africa, and then what are the changes he has actually set in the country, what are the things he thought of changing it, and how he changed it, and what was the situation before Nelson Mandela was the president of South Africa, how he has fought against it, how he overcome all the situations. So we will learn from this chapter, Long Walk to Freedom. Okay, so now this Africa was Africa was a British colony in that country. The white people ruled the country at that time, and they were the supremacy. They were in the supremacy, and the black people were totally they were treated very badly in that country by the white, as they as white people, they badly treated them in the country. They were not given all the social rights which actually they should get it. And for that, Nelson Mandela, he fought fought a lot. Many black people, many black colored people were there who fought for this, and at last they achieved their goal. And at last, there was a time when both the both the colored people were united together, and happily they have started their country happily. In the same the process gone out very smoothly later on, but before that there was lots of problems. So what were the problems, we will see here in the uh, from this lesson. Okay, so before you read, you will just find that apartheid, that is a political system in South Africa. When the white were ruling the country at that time, apartheid was a political system, is a political system uh, that separates people according to their races, according to their color. That kind of political system was in South Africa when white were ruling the country. Okay, so then we will learn that Mandela and his African National Congress, as he had joined an African National Congress before that, he spent a lifetime fighting against apartheid. So he has fought against apartheid, as apartheid was the political system which actually separates two colored people, black and white. And white were always ruling the country, and black were treated very badly. No rights were given to them. And Nelson Mandela, he thought, he joined African National Congress, and he spent life lots. He just spent his time in fighting against this apartheid. And for that, Mandela had to spend 30 years in prison. Okay, Mandela, for that, as he was fighting, like we have known about Mahatma Gandhi here, is not it? He has fought to get independence for our country. So similarly, Mandela, he fought against this apartheid system for for many years, and then and during that time he had to spend 30 years in prison with some of his other uh, members. Finally, democratic election were held, and at last there was then a democratic election were held. We all know what is democratic election, is not it? So, were held in South Africa in 1994, and then Mandela became the first black president of a new nation. And then only after a lot of fighting after against this apartheid system, then there was a democratic election that was held in South Africa for the first time, and then Mandela, he became the first black president of that nation. Okay, so now in this extract, this is just an extract from his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. Mandela, he speaks about a historic occasion. He actually speaks here about a historic occasion that after he was elected as a president of of South Africa, then how the situation was, what was the situation with him, how people actually support him in this matter. So this we will know from the chapter. So this is an about a historic occasion, the inauguration. We will this is just an occasion of we will read about just the occasion related with the inauguration, oath taking ceremony, you can say, where after a president or prime minister is elected, there is a oath taking ceremony, isn't it, where they need to take promises and all for to serve the nation, to serve the country. Okay, so now let's see. And there is from here, from the news item from the BBC, there is a small paragraph. Just read it out. Just let's read it what it is. Mandela becomes South Africa's first black president. So Mandela has become South Africa's first black president after more than 3 centuries of white rule. So white has ruled the country for 3 centuries, and after that 3 centuries, the first black president, Nelson Mandela, was the first black. Before that, black were not given the all the rights. They were treated very badly by the white, as whites were ruling the country. There was discrimination among between the black and white. But for 3 centuries, almost white has ruled. But later on, when a democratic election held, then Mandela he became the first black president of South Africa. So Mr. Mandela's African National Congress, he had joined this African National Congress, and their party in after the election seats in the first democratic election of South Africa's history, and that was the first democratic election in South Africa in which this African National Congress won 252 seats out of 400. So the inauguration ceremony took place in the Union Building Amphitheatre in Pretoria today. Today means that day, okay? It was that day on 10th May 1994. It was on 10th May 1994, okay? So the inauguration, that means that oath taking ceremony, it took place in the Union Building Amphitheatre. Now, what is amphitheatre? It is a building without a roof, okay? There used to be many rows of seats. It is just rising up and up, okay? So that is what amphitheater. It doesn't have the roof, okay? An open ground, you can say. And in previous like in ancient Greece and Roman, they used to have theater. They used to perform, that was the theater, that kind of theater they used to. It was this inauguration was that took place in the Union Building Amphitheatre in Pretoria. It was held in Pretoria. Okay. Pretoria, it is actually a capital of USA. A period of during that period of 10 years. Okay, that at that time it was, sorry, South Africa, not USA, South Africa. It was during that 10 year. Pretoria was the South Africa's capital. Okay. So in Pretoria today, that means not today, this on 10th May 1994, it is just a part of that newspaper, that BBC news, okay? From that it has taken out. So attended by politicians and dignitaries from more than 140 countries around the world. So from more than 140 countries, politicians and famous people, dignitaries, they attended this inauguration, as it was the grand inauguration. It was not a simple one, it was a grand inauguration. And why it was grand? Because for the first time a black person has got the chance to be elected as president, and that is the reason why people from many countries, like 140 countries, many politicians, dignitaries, some many big people, they just attended this inauguration. Never, never again will this beautiful land experience the oppression of one by another, said Nelson Mandela in his address. And Nelson Mandela, then he said that never again in this beautiful land, mean in South Africa, never again the people will be treated in such a way. What actually they have, how they have actually got the treatment from the whites. So this kind of situation will never arise in the country after that, as everyone will be same, everyone will have the same rights and all. Here Nelson Mandela, he has not even taken any kind of revenge here, like as white has treated us in such a way. And after he got the power, becoming the president, he could have taken the revenge on white also, but he had not done, because for him peace is the utmost. He want peace in country, he want everyone to be united together, everyone to be to get the equal rights, though it is a white skin people or a black skin people. Jubilant jubilant scenes on the street of Pretoria followed the ceremony, with blacks, whites, and colored celebrating together. So, a very grand celebration was held at that time on the streets of Pretoria, followed by the ceremony of black and white. So, these two colored people together, it was actually a grand one, because two colored people together together, united together, and celebrated this grand inauguration. And more than 100,000, that is 1 lakh, South African men, women, and children of all races sang and danced with us. So more than 100,000, it's almost 1 lakh South African men and women, children of all races, of white, of black, everyone, they sang, they danced with joy. As it is a very like a memorable day for the South Africa, the first memorable day for South Africa, where where a black has been elected as a first president of South Africa, where both the both the colored skin people, both the races enjoyed together, and of course that was a grand celebration for every one of it. Okay, so let's start with the chapter now. So now 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respect before the inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. So it was 10th May, and 10th May it dawned bright and clear. It was of course it was done bright and clear because it was the first time when a black person has been elected as a president of South Africa. So that was actually a very happy moment for each and every citizen of that country. So for the past few days, I had been here. I is Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela had been pleasantly besieged. He was actually surrounded very closely by dignitaries and world leaders. He was actually surrounded before the inauguration, after he was elected as a South Africa's president, and before that inauguration, for the past few days, many big people, many famous people, many dignitaries, and all the world leaders, they came to pay their respect to him before the inauguration. So there was no hatred among each other at that time. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. And this inauguration will be the grand inauguration in the South Africa for the first time. And that is the reason why people from all other countries arrived there to attend this inauguration. So that was a very big moment for all the black people, all the black colored people, as they are united. They will get the equal rights as white were getting before. And now that the discrimination will not be there among these two races people. Everyone will get the same opportunity, same rights. So that is the reason why people from many other countries had arrived in that inauguration. So now the ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union Building in Pretoria. So this ceremony, it took place in a lovely sandstone amphitheatre. Okay, amphitheatre, a building without a roof with many rows of seats rising in steps. Okay, so it doesn't have roof. Already I have explained it about the amphitheatre, a building but without a roof and with many rows of seats rising in steps. Okay, so it was formed by the Union Building in Pretoria. That during the 10 decade, it was the 10 years. It was the not 10 decade, 10 years. It was the South Africa's capital. So now for almost a decade, this had been the seat of white supremacy. And almost for here we have already read that almost for 3 centuries, the this seat was of white supremacy. White were ruling the country. But now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic and non-racial government. But now it would be a grand one, as it would be it was a site of rainbow gathering. Rainbow, we know that 7 colors, so it will be the site of rainbow gathering of different colors. We can say the different colors of different nations, colors and nations. As for the first time, South Africa was installed with the first democratic election where even the black got an opportunity to be to stand on the election, and also uh, a black person has was elected as a president. So that's why it was actually a grand celebration for each and every citizen of South Africa. Clear, everyone? If you have any doubt, you just write it down, okay? So now, on that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Janani. So now, on that lovely autumn day, it was an autumn day, it was very bright and clear day. That day, Nelson Mandela, he was accompanied by his daughter Janani. So Janani, she accompanied him to uh, uh, in the inauguration. So as the time of inauguration started, so Janani, she accompanied her father on the podium. Decade means almost 10 years. Yeah, one decade will be 10 years. Yes, 10 years it will be. So on the podium, you know, it is not a stage where you have a like a table like thing, no, we have in our school also. So on that podium, so now as it is the time of as the inauguration time started, and also the oath taking ceremony has been started. So one by one, each and every ministers, they will take the oath. So on the podium, Mr. De Klerk was the first to sworn in as second deputy president. So Mr. De Klerk was the first who took an oath as second deputy president. Then Thabo Mbeki. Then next comes Thabo Mbeki. He was sworn in as first deputy president, and he took the oath. Second was the Thabo Mbeki, who took the oath, and he was elected as a first deputy president. Okay. So now, when it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said. So now, after Mr. De Klerk and Thabo Mbeki, now it was the turn of Nelson Mandela. So Nelson Mandela, he pledge means to make a promise. So he make a promise, and he make a promise to support the constitution, and to give his time to devote himself, means to give his time to the well-being of the republic and its people. So he will work for the country, he will work for the well-being of others. So he just make a promise, he took a promise, he make a promise that he will support the constitution, and that he will give his time to the well-being of the republic, of the people. Okay, republic and its people. And to all the assembled guests, as there were lots of people surrounded there, to all the assembled guests, he said, now what he said, there is a speech from by Nelson Mandela. Sworn means to take a promise, no? To promise, to take a promise, sworn, okay? So now, oath taking, we can say taking an oath. So now, when as it was the time of Nelson Mandela, he delivered a very small a speech, and that is a speech written here in your book. So I will just read it out. What he actually said in his speech to all the assembled, to all the people who are present, who were present at that time. Okay. So he said, "Today, all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud." So now, in this speech, what he said, that today, that day means all of us, as we all are here present, just to confer glory. We all are present here. A formal word, that is confer here, to give glory and hope, and to give a hope to this newborn liberty. Newborn liberty means after apartheid, there was a democratic election. So now the political system has been changed. Apartheid is already it was all left, and now there is no apartheid here. So that this is a newborn liberty. Okay, so now they all are present there to give glory and hope to this newborn liberty out of the experience of an extraordinary human. As they had been suffering a lot, they had been suffering this apartheid system, this political system had actually was a like human disaster for them that lasted many years, but now this kind of system will not be present there. Must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. Now a society, now he promised to make his society in such a way that all the human being, all the humanity will be proud of it. There will be no existence of apartheid, that political system which actually discriminate between two races. But now there will be a newborn liberty where people of every whatever people of both the colors will get the same opportunity, same rights. So he promised that one. Then what he said, we who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We means we here, why he said we who were outlaws means because of this policy of apartheid, many countries had earlier broken off diplomatic relation with South Africa. Because of this system, that apartheid system, many countries had actually broken their relation with South Africa. So we who were outlaws, now we means everyone, he's talking about everyone, and even the black people who were being actually who were being treated very badly, who were being thought that they were not the citizen of that country. So who not so long ago, today have given the rare privilege to be host of the nation. Today they got a good chance, they got a privilege, an opportunity to be the host of that nations of the world in their own soil. Today, though they were outlaws some once in a time where they did not got this equal rights as white were the supremacy at that time were ruling the country. But today they got an opportunity, that rare privilege. They thanks everyone that they got a rare privilege to host, to be a host of the nation, to actually do something for their nation of their own soil, which were their own soil. But for some years, that was being taken away from them. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, and for human dignity. And he thanks everyone. He thanks all the famous people, the international guests who has actually attended this inauguration with the people of their country, both black and white people. And for today, and that day, which was a day of common victory for justice, for peace, and for human dignity, they had a now they have a common victory. They are now celebrating the victory of for justice, for peace, and for human dignity. And he thanks each and every people of the international people who actually uh, gave their little time to attend that inauguration. So he thanks everyone. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. And then here he said, we have at last achieved our political emancipation. Now, at last, the black had achieved the freedom from restriction. Emancipation means freedom from restriction. So now they have no restriction of anything. Now they are free from many things that they did not got it. So now, as at last, they have achieved that goal. And then he actually promised, pledge ourselves. Here he said, we means all the black people and the white people, they all promise themselves that they will liberate all the people. They will make free. Okay, liberate means to make free of all the bad things, to of all our people from continuing bondage, as they were being in the bondage of poverty, deprivation. Poverty, deprivation means one who does not have the right, all the benefits. They do not actually got those benefits, all that rights. Then suffering, gender, they were suffered a lot. Gender discrimination were there, and other discrimination. So whatever discrimination they have once in their time, but now they are liberate from them. They are being free from that. Now that kind of situation will not be arrive. And he actually promised everyone that this kind of situation where we have the discrimination among each other, so this situation will not arrive again in this beautiful earth. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. And then he also promised that now, never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the same oppression where people actually very in a very unjust manner they exercise the authority. The one who is in the authority, they exercise the power. They have the power to do whatever he likes. I mean, in an unjust manner, they treat people. No, so now this kind of things will not be done again. This experience, this kind of oppression will not be done again, because now everybody has got the same right. So the one who is the authority, the one who is governing the state or country, he will actually give all the rights, equal rights to each and every citizen of the country, without discriminating among their religion or whatever their races and all. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. So now the sun will not set. The sun will always rise in this glorious achievement of human being. As everybody today, they have won something. They have become, there is a victory among everybody. So now this sun, the victory, the sun means the victory. What they have experiencing now will not set again. That about that human achievement. Let freedom reign, God bless Africa. And then he just ended his speech by saying, let freedom reign, let freedom rule in this country, and God bless Africa. So in this way, he completed his speech. He says that how he will help each and every people, that for so many years they have been treated very badly by the white skinned people. But today, as they have got the opportunity to be the host of this nation, to be elected as the president of this country, so from today he take a promise. He take a promise that each and every people, regarding their skin color or whatever it is, they will experience the same law and rules and regulation. There will be no different rules and regulation for people. They will have the same, though they are of black skin people or of everyone. So after that, what happened? A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers roared in perfect formation over the Union building. So now, after a very sweet speech, a very nice speech by Mandela, after that there was some of the program that was held in the inauguration. So a few moments later, all the people who were present there, they all lifted their eyes in awe. In awe means they were feeling of amazement, a surprise. Helicopters and troop carriers roared in perfect formation over the Union building. As why they were amazed to see, what they were amazed to see, they saw that a group of helicopters, South African jets, and troop carriers, they all just moved around in a very perfect formation over the Union building. Sometimes during the Independence Day also we can see this kind of things, isn't it? So South African jets, helicopters, so with a very different, attractive, colorful, in a colorful way, they all just roared in a very good, very perfect formation over the Union building. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to a democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. So it was not only show, pinpoint precision means exact, okay? Not only a show that people are not simply showing in a formal way, not a formality to that we have to do it, that this thing should be done whenever there is an inauguration held in this country. It is not only the show, but it's a demonstration. It is a very perfect example of the military's loyalty, that the military are so loyal to the newly elected government. They are actually loyal. It is not only for the formality they are doing those things, but they are actually loyal to the to that new government that has been elected very freely and fairly, and no one actually raised their voice against it, that why a black has become a president of the country. No, everyone actually very loyalty. They have that respect in their heart. By showing that respect and by being a loyal person, they are showing or doing those performance. It was not only to show it, but actually they are true in an honest manner. They are actually explaining the things properly. That friendliness, that yes, today we are united and we will be united every day. Okay. So, only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. So, only moments before, before that, troops was just uh, that rode in this on the sky. Before that, some of the general of South Africa Defence Force, South African Defence Force, and police, their chest full of ribbons and medals. They just went to Nelson Mandela and they saluted them in a very they saluted and pledged their loyalty and showed and promised that this loyalty is true. They actually respect their new government. They are actually very happy for their new government. So when he saw that this police and this people, this defense force, they came towards him, they saluted him, then suddenly he was lost in his thought, and he said that I was not mindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. He said that I was actually conscious of the fact I'm here as being a president when the police, when the military force, defense force, they just came towards me, they just saluted me, showing full loyalty towards me. I'm also conscious about the fact that some days ago, some days before, the same people, the same police, the same defense force, they came and they arrested me. This They were not saluting me at that time. They arrested me when he was not the president of South Africa. Finally, so he remembered those things, but though he remembered, he doesn't have any kind of hatred towards those people, as that was happened, as that they did those things. He doesn't have any hatred, but he just remembered that okay, these are the same people who actually arrested me once, but today the same people are coming towards me to show their loyalty, as he was the president of South Africa. Okay, so finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. And finally, a chevron of Impala. Chevron means a pattern in the shape of V shape. Okay, Impala jets. It is in the V shape. The jets. They just left the smoke trail. They just left the smoke having the color black, red, green, blue, and gold. They left this colorful smoke while just going towards it in a V shape. In a V shape, they just went. They just moved towards by leaving some smoke, that this colorful smoke, that is black, red, green, blue, and this color is actually and gold, and this color is the new South African flag. So the new South African flag, what is the color of new South African flag? It is red, green, blue, and gold. So these four colors, they left that four colors showing the new South African flag. Before, the flag was different, but after, when a black has become the president, many things had been changed. Even the flag has been changed, because when the white were ruling, according to their own choice, they had made their flag. But after, when all of them were united, and when there was a democratic election held, and then this then the color of the flag has also been changed. And this chevron of impala jets, they, while just moving towards, they just left the smoke, having the South African flag color. Okay, so the day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Koshi Sikelel Africa and blacks singing Die Stem, the old anthem of the Republic. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. So now, that day was symbolized for Nelson Mandela by playing some of their national anthems. Like in our Independence Day, we here they sing their own India. In India, we sing our own national anthem. Even South Africa has their own national anthem. And that day, the day when in during the day of inauguration, that day was symbolized for Nelson Mandela, and they symbolize in by singing the two national anthem, because the black and the white, they had two different national anthem, black and the vision of whites. Okay, so singing, they are singing Koshi Sikelel Africa, and the black singing Die Stem. So they, white and black, they had two different um, anthems, and the old anthem of the Republic. And this were the old. They do not know what is the lyrics, but they were singing. They once despised. Once they have actually had a very low opinion. The white, they had a low opinion on the black. The black, they had a low opinion on the white. So though they had a low opinion, but that day both of them, they were singing uh, their old anthem, but they do not know the lyrics. So as the white do not know the lyrics of the Die Stem, or the black, they do not know the lyrics of Koshi Sikelel Africa, but still they were trying. And here they would soon know the words by heart. And Nelson Mandela, he is very he is very confident that one day, as now everyone has united, so one day they will also know the lyrics by heart. One day they will learn the lyrics, and he is very much confident about those things. So here many short question can be written here. Okay, so you just underline the important things here. So now, on the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War, and before before my own birth, the white skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark skinned peoples of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples, regardless of the color of their skin. So now, that day, on that day of inauguration, Nelson Mandela, he was overcome with the sense of history. He was lost in his thought and thinking about the history, that what was the situation at that time, how the situation was. So he was lost, because that day he had seen that each and every people were united together. So he was overwhelmed with he just started thinking of the history, what was the past. So he thought, in the first decade of the 20th century, in the first decade of 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War. So after that Anglo-Boer War, and before his own birth, he was not born, before my own birth. So there was a like British and African people, they were just, as British has also ruled in that place, in the country. So there was an Anglo-Boer War, and it was before the birth of Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was not born. The white skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark skinned people of their own land. So this people, this white skinned people of South Africa, they patch up their difference. They showed the differences and they erected a, they fixed up, patched means fixed. They fixed a up their differences. They have fixed it that this differences will be there for every time, there for forever. So the white skinned people, they just patch up their differences and erected a system of racial domination, and they fixed up that this kind of racial domination will be there against dark skinned people of their own land, though they were of their own land, but these were the dark skinned people. So this white people, they have fixed up that this kind of discrimination will be there every time. They have just made up the discrimination between dark skinned people and white skinned people. They dominated against these people, and from their own land, though they were from their own land, they were not at all kind towards them. They have not showed any kindness towards them, but they have actually fixed up the differences among each other, between each other. So the structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. And that structure, that scene of that time, they created the scene they created at that time. It was the very like most inhuman, most harshest that even no society has ever known. No one has ever known that this kind of situation has not arrived in any other countries. What situation was arrived in South Africa? It was very intolerable situation at that time, most inhuman situation. Now in the last decade, so that was the time when that was in the first decade of 20th century that this kind of situation prevailed in the country of South Africa, where white skinned people ruled over the dark skinned people, and they were dominated and they were very badly treated by white skinned people. They were not given uh, any kind of rights to the dark skinned people, and that scene was a very uh, uh, a shameful scene for any people who had known about it. It was a shameful scene. But now, in the last decade of the 20th century, and now it is the last decade of 20th century, and my own 8th decade as a man, and as a man, his 8th decade. So that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognize the rights and freedoms of all the peoples regardless of color of their skin. But now the things had been changed. But now what the situation was in that in the first decade of 20th century, and in the last decade it has been totally changed. Now in the last decade and uh, his 8th decade as a man, this system was had been overturned. It has actually taken, it has taken a u-turn forever, and now it is replaced by one that recognizes the rights. Now that each and every colored people will get equal rights, though there will be no discrimination between black and white. They will have the same rights, they will have the same freedoms, whatever their color of the skin might be. So this thing had been changed totally. So that was the how. What was the situation? A question might come. What was the situation during the first decade of 20th century and the situation during the last decade of the 20th century? So this one you can mention it. Okay. So he had in this paragraph he actually explained it to us that what was the situation during the first decade of 18th century and the last decade of 20th century. So it has been changed. Now the people were united together. Both the colored skin people are united together and they respect each other. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people. Now that day means that day, that is the last decade of 20th century. How it actually came? It doesn't came suddenly. It doesn't came suddenly. White people are not changed. White skinned people are suddenly they have not changed their heart. It came through the unimaginable sacrifices, that sacrifices by thousands of his people, thousands of colored skinned people. They has actually brought that day. That day had come through the unimaginable. One cannot even imagine that what are the suffering that people has actually got. So that day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people, people whose sufferings and courage can never be counted or repaid. So Nelson Mandela, he said that that day, that means the last decade of 20th century, had come only through that sacrifices made by thousands of his people, and whose suffering and whose courage can never be repaid or can never be counted. We cannot even count how much they had suffered for, how much, what are the things they had sacrificed for. They had sacrificed many things to actually bring that day in their life. So that cannot be repeated, or that cannot be counted. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. So now that day he felt, that day when he saw the people united together, it was like a dream for him. The people who united together and enjoying together very happily. That day he felt as he had from many other days, of all those African patriots. He is nothing in front of those patriots, those African patriots who had actually gone before him, who had sacrificed their life before him. He had also done lots for his country. He had fight much for his country, but the sacrifices that was given by that people who had gone before him, that that were unimaginable. He is just a sum of that. He cannot be actually compared to those people who had sacrificed their life to get that day. That long and noble line ended. So that long and noble line, that line has been ended. Now begin again with me. That sacrifices, that people who has sacrificed, it has gone, and now again it started with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them, and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. And then he was very much unhappy that day. He was pained. Why he was pained? Because the day he was not able to thank those patriots who had actually sacrificed their life for their country, fighting for their country, and to bring that day for their country. They could not see what their sacrifices had brought in their country, and that's why he was very much pained that he could not thank those people, those uh, courageous people who had actually fought for their country and sacrifices a lot for their country. And uh, he was very unhappy for that matter, that he could not thank those people. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. And the policy of that apartheid, that political system, it has actually created a deep and lasting wound in his country. It's not that people will suddenly forget everything about this apartheid system, the system that was when the whites were ruling in the country. And people will not, that has actually created a deep and lasting wound in his country and the people. And suddenly people, it will take lots of time to be changed, though the situation has been managed now, but it will take lots of time, because it was a long time as the apartheid was, that political system was there in the country. It was a long time, so it would take lots of time for the people to just adjust with that situation, to forget the what actually apartheid has created in their country, for their country. All of us will spend many years. So many years will be spent here, if not generation, recovering from that profound hurt. So it will take generation lots of time to just overcome from that strong, deep, profound means deep and strong hurt, as many people were hurt uh, because of this apartheid system. This political system has hurt many people, and it will actually take lots of time to overcome from that situation. Though people are trying a lot, but it will take lots of time, maybe generation, to forget everything about those that pol- that political system, and to change the situation. But still people are trying, even he is also trying. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sissolas, the Chief Lutholes, the Yusuf Dados, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobukways of our time, men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. So here he says that the policy of as but the decades of oppression, but it was a decade, it was many years of that oppression. Oppression means the power of the cruelty, as these people were treated very cruelly and brutality. But it has an like unplanned effect. It has an unplanned effect. And what was that effect? And that it produced a great extraordinary man. If there was no apartheid, maybe these people would not known today, because as like for India, if British had not come in India, we would have known Mahatma Gandhi. We would not have known the freedom fighters. It's not it. Because of them, we today know them. We respect them. We show our respect towards them. Okay, we just salute them for their courageous deeds. Similarly, if this apartheid system was not there, then these people who had actually sacrificed their life for their country would not be known, would not have been born also. It's not it. So that's why he took that those things in a positive way. Because of that um apartheid system, because of that political system, Oliver Tambos, Walter Sissolas, the Chief Lutholes, the Yusuf Dados, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobukways of their time. Brutality means like you can say cruelty. Okay, cruelty. Unintended means unplanned. That is not planned. Unplanned effect. Suddenly, it was not planned, but when this political system was there in the country, then suddenly these people suddenly thought they have not planned that we will be there. They have not planned anything, but suddenly it happened, as there was this political system and these people were born. It was not that these people will born, and that's why the that's why the political system was there. No, okay. Brutality means himsa bhavna, like cruelty, you can say. So that's why today we can know these people. So Nelson Mandela, he says that he thanks apartheid also for some of the reason, that because there was this political system that we came to know these people. Otherwise, these people would not have been known by anyone. They have sacrificed a lot for their country. Oliver Tambo, Walter Sissolas, Chief Lutholes, Yusuf Dadu, Bram Fishers, Robert Sobukwe. So that's why today everyone know them. They had sacrificed their life uh, for to fight against this political system. And men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. So men of such confident character, courage, confident character, admirable personality would never be known again. This kind of people would never be known again. So he said, because of this apartheid, this apartheid system has created a long-lasting impression on the people of South Africa, and also it created such kind of courageous people for South Africa who has fought for the country, who actually sacrificed many things for their country, and today they are there happily enjoying the moment. Perhaps it requires such depth of oppression to create such heights of character. And yes, he says that it requires such depth of oppression. If there would be no cruelty, no brutality, then this people would not have been known. Perhaps he says that it requires such depth of oppression. There should be such kind of cruelty. If there would be this kind of cruelty, then only people of such extraordinary character would have born. Otherwise, one would have not known. Otherwise, if the thing has gone very smoothly, this character would not be known. It would just remain unknown to everyone. Clear, everyone? My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamond. So now he says that his country is rich in minerals. His country is rich in minerals and gems. Gems means precious stones and all that lie beneath its soil. So that lie beneath its soils. But according to Nelson Mandela, these minerals and gems are not. They has not made this country rich actually for him, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people. So Nelson Mandela says that it is not mineral or gems that has make one's country rich. One's country has become rich only because of these people who are actually finer and truer than the purest diamond. And these people cannot be compared with that purest diamond and all. People may think that these are precious, but according to Nelson Mandela, the most precious thing for him is the people of his country who has actually sacrificed their life for the country to get that day which they are enjoying. Clear, everyone? So I think let's stop it for today up to here. Yes. So if do you have any doubt on the explanation? Just reply it. Okay, clear. Okay, whatever explanation we have done till now, so you just make some short question answer from there. Okay, it's very important. From Nelson Mandela, many short question answers come in the exam, so you can prepare some short question answer from there. You read it and prepare it. Okay, so tomorrow we will try to complete the other part of the story of the autobiography Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. Okay, till then, bye, student.